Hey guys, it's been an awfully long time since I've done a video on YouTube, and I thought that I should continue doing this during uni, just to help my channel out, get a bit more views. And seeing as it's October, I started off in October last year doing film reviews on my YouTube channel, so it's been a year since I've started out, and today I'd like to do a review of a horror film. It's French, it's called Martyrs. This film is an incredibly controversial film and has one of the greatest opening scenes in any film ever, just because of the shocking, like how shocking it is, and you do not expect it at all. The film starts off with a young girl running down a street. She's got scars all over her body. There's blood stains on her shirt and just her pants, and she's running through, and then the film cuts to credits, I think. Okay, this film is kind of a torture porn film. It goes to the levels of Hostel. It may go a bit further than Hostel, but some of the themes in Hostel, parts 1 and 2, are in this one as well. You know, particularly the famous scene in this film. The film for me is brilliant because it has two parts. The first half is about the little girl at the beginning that escaped, going back for revenge, and what she went through in the beginning, how that has changed her when she's an adult. And the second half of the film is about her friend going through the same process of being tortured and captured by these people. And unlike a lot of torture porn films, this actually goes into detail of why they are being tortured, and it's actually really interesting, and it's quite a controversial topic as well. But it kind of makes it doesn't make the torture all right, but it gives it a reason for it being there, unlike other torture porn films like Saw. I mean, that has a story, but it isn't as deep as this. And this has some very good shots of cinematography in it as well. Very 2001-like in one particular shot of the film towards the end. Now, the acting in this film is really good. It's a French film, so the two actors, Mojana Aloui and Mylène Jampanoy. Why did I do a cheesy French accent? I don't know. Apologies if I pronounced them incorrectly or offended anyone there. This is directed by Pascal Lohier. I don't know any of his other films, but I might have to look into them because this film's really good. Okay, so you've already got the idea that I really like this film. Now I'm going to go into why I like the film, everything that happens, and the spoilers which need to be told to explain the film and why I like it in the two halves. So the first half of the film, like I said, is one of the characters going to find her captors at the start of the film, and she is being haunted by a monster, and this monster is explained who she is later on in the film, but the monster is terrifying. It's kind of for me, it reminded me of the Japanese horror films, you know, like The Little Girls and stuff like that. It's kind of like that, but it's a mix between that and I can't think, maybe the monster from Wreck. It is very similar to that in the same way, which is really interesting, that she can see this monster because she's been put through the pain and suffering of being tortured, and we find out that this monster's all in her head and that she's cutting herself, but she thinks it's the monster. She's imagining the monster doing it. She eventually kills herself, commits suicide, slices her arms, and then slits her throat, because she thinks the monster's doing it and she's doing it to herself. The first half of the film also has some incredibly dark scenes, featuring the woman that I just talked about and a shotgun and a family. She rushes into this family's house and shoots them all with a shotgun. It's incredibly gory, there's blood everywhere. It's incredibly gory and very moving, because you've just met these characters, they're all a family. They seem to have all their issues, but you know, they're just a normal family, and she just goes in and shoots them, and there's blood everywhere, and they're all dead. And she thinks that because she's killed them, this monster will be able to go free. What we do find out then the middle of the film starts, and her friend witnesses her suicide and hears a bump in the house, and she goes to find out what it is, and she stumbles upon a massive problem, and she goes down into the basement of the house, and there are cabins and rooms, and one of the rooms has got this woman in, and she's absolutely horrifically disgusting. She's got like cuts all over her body, she's all shriveled up, she's naked, she's been mistreated, tormented, attacked, abused, and she has this this particular woman in the film has this metal bar around her eyes and above her head, and then the girl rescues her from the situation and puts her in a bathtub, and she tries to remove the helmet, and we find out that this helmet is actually nailed into her into her skull, sorry. So the removal of the staples and the nails, that scene is incredibly hard to watch. She's screaming and shrieking, and there's like, you can hear the staple pop out. It's really disturbing. Then we find out that there is an organisation that the family were working on with, which is all about the idea of being a martyr. These people, organisation, gets people and tortures them, and gets people to suffer, willingly suffer, than rather renounce their religion. This doesn't really make sense with the film because she's not religious, but one of the definitions is a person who is put to death or endures great suffering on behalf of any belief, principle or cause. This is really interesting because this organisation takes girls, women, men, and tortures them immensely, and there's some incredibly brutal scenes in this film where this man just keeps beating up the woman when she's locked up and she's being force-fed. It's very hostel-like, but it's more clinical than hostile. Hostel is more dark and dingy. This is all for a cause, so it's all, even though it's horrible, it's still cause there. And there's a certain edit in the film where there's just an edit of her in a chair being beat up, and then it edits again to the same shot of her being beat up again and again and again and again, and that's when it showed time progressing. That did annoy me slightly. It went on for a bit too long, and then towards the end of the film, this is where it gets really deep. She's taken for the final task, and she goes into this laboratory, and she's strung up, and you hear this crunch as a doctor, and you hear the crunch, and then she just starts screaming, and she's locked into place, and then the next time we see her, she's in a dressing gown on a wheelchair, and the doctor takes off the thing, and she's been fully skinned alive. She just has no skin, it's all muscle, and it looks absolutely disgusting. The only thing you can see of skin left is her face, just her face, so her ears have been skinned, I think they've been removed. I can't remember, I didn't really look into that, but yeah, her whole body is just completely red and bloody and skinned, and it's disgusting. And she lays there, and then there's a brilliantly reminiscent of 2001: A Space Odyssey shot of the camera going into her eye, and it keeps going into her eye, and it shows what she sees from the suffering, because all the martyrs in history that this organisation have seen have gone through immense pain and suffering. All they can do is just open, there's a thing about opening their eyes and looking towards God, and she starts to see images of, well, not images, but different colours of white, and then it goes black. And the organisation is successful because she is the fourth martyr to have had a near-death experience, and she talks to the leader when she's tied down, and the message she gives to her is so powerful that the leader of this group shoots herself in the head. But this film is really, really good. Not only is it bloody and gory in a good way, it's also deeply psychological and philosophical, and gives a reason for the torture and the violence and the gore. But it is really hard to sit through. So if you like Hostel, and you like maybe Saw, then I'd highly recommend this film. Highly recommend it to anyone who likes gory films and is up for watching a film like this. So I give this film an 8 out of 10. Honestly, I cannot stress how much I absolutely love this film. Only a few issues in the film. The monster at the start isn't as scary as it ought to have been, but apart from that, I thought it was brilliant.